In this video, I'm going to summarize the differences between RNA and DNA. We've already looked a little bit at some of the differences. The RNA and DNA molecules, the nucleotides, have different carbohydrates in them. RNA has the ribose carbohydrate or monosaccharide, while DNA has the deoxyribose carbohydrate or sugar. The DNA and RNA molecules have different functions inside our body. The DNA molecule passes information from parent to offspring, passes along genetic information. I'm just going to say from parent to the kid. And also another thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that DNA is, one of its jobs is to build RNA. The RNA molecule's job is to help cells function, which I talked about before. Mostly that means that it is building proteins. So it carries information that our body needs to synthesize proteins. DNA molecules stay inside the nucleus of a cell. They don't leave. Whereas the RNA molecules come in and out of the nucleus. They move all around. They're not just stuck in the nucleus. We've looked quite a bit at how the DNA molecule is a double strand. We call that a double helix. It's a double strand of nucleotides. The RNA molecule, which we haven't looked at yet, is a single strand of nucleotides. In the DNA molecule, one of the things we've looked at is the base pairing. We've seen that the adenine and thymine nucleotides pair together, hydrogen bond together, and the cytosine and guanine nucleotides pair and hydrogen bond together. We see a similar thing in the RNA molecule. The cytosine and guanine pair and bond together. The adenine, instead of hydrogen bonding to thymine, it actually bonds to uracil instead. So the uracil base pair is unique to the RNA nucleotides, whereas the thymine base is unique to the DNA nucleotides. In addition to these differences, another difference between DNA and RNA is that there are different types of RNA. There are actually 3 different types of RNA. They each have slightly different jobs. The most common type of RNA is called rRNA. That first R is lowercase. This stands for ribosomal RNA. And inside our body, most of the RNA is rRNA or ribosomal RNA. Ribosomal RNA's job is to form ribosomes, which are the factories where proteins are synthesized. Protein synthesis is a huge job of RNA. Second type of RNA is mRNA. That's also a lowercase m, and this stands for messenger RNA. The job of the messenger RNA, which its name kind of implies, is to carry the message or instructions from the DNA to the ribosomes. And these instructions that are being carried are instructions for protein synthesis. So it's like they carry the recipe. Once the protein has been synthesized, the mRNA molecules fall apart. So they will fall apart after the protein is synthesized. And then the third type of RNA is called tRNA. That's a lowercase t, and this stands for transfer RNA. This is the tiniest little RNA molecule. And the job of the transfer RNA molecule is to bring or carry amino acids to the ribosome. These are the amino acids that are used in protein synthesis. Remember, a protein is just a really long continuous chain of amino acids. So the tRNA molecules are kind of like little taxi drivers that bring these amino acids into the ribosome. The mRNA tells the instructions of the order of the amino acids, the order that they need to be put together for the protein synthesis. And the rRNA just provides a location for all of this to take place.